Hello, welcome to Old Nerd Reads Marvel Comics in Order. This is episode 102. This time I read Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction Magazine, number 2. This came out in, I think, 74, maybe 75. So I'm kind of out of order right now with the rest of this video series, reading my Marvel Comics in Order. But I got these late. I ordered these off eBay. Somebody had a collection of them, and I bought they had the whole run. I think there's only like 6 issues of this. But I would see, in the back of the comics I was reading, I would see some ads for Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction. And I'm really into the older Marvel comic magazines now. I started with Epic magazine, which Marvel put out in the early 80s through the mid 80s. And I've been picking up magazines ever since. And this one I was particularly interested in just because it was science fiction, I suppose. But I picked up this collection, and they're all in very nice shape. For being 50-year-old magazines, like this old nerd talking right now, they're in pretty good shape. Really nice Michael Kaluta cover. If we delve into the inside here, the editorial written by Roy Thomas, The Shape of Things That Came, he talks about this cover was his idea. He had this idea for a cover, and Michael Kaluta came in and wanted to do some art for the magazine, and Roy Thomas gave him this suggestion. So that's how the cover came about. We got the frontispiece here, the inside front cover by Alex Nino. That's Alex Nino as well, from a story that's in here in the magazine. Nice table of contents of everything that's going on. March 1975 issue. So this probably came out like right at the end of 1974, probably. Hit the stands right around there somewhere. But here's Roy Thomas's editorial page. He talks a little bit about what's going on in this issue and upcoming issues. Like in the first issue of Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction, we are using science fiction novelists Bob Shaw's concept slow glass, which is glass that absorbs light very slowly and creates moving images. It's basically like a video camera. Pieces of glass that record light so slowly that you can watch basically video of images. So say you wanted a picture of your family, like a video of your family, you would buy slow glass, and this man right here is a slow glass salesman. He's heading to a customer that lives in this high-rise apartment building. You would buy a piece of slow glass and just put it someplace around your family, and it would absorb the light, the images, and record them, and then later you could watch it. But you could only watch it once. Once it plays back its contents, it's over. But he is going to the penthouse suite to sell this aristocrat some slow glass. And let me see, who's the writer of this? This is Tony Isabella is writing, and Frank Brunner and Klaus Janson are doing the art. But the salesman shows the aristocrat some of the samples that he's brought, and we get a little preview of all the stories that are in this issue. And the first one that we're going to explore, War Toy, begins on the next page. War Toy. And this has George Pérez artwork. Again, written by Tony Isabella. This is a cool little science fiction story. I don't think this was based on any science fiction novel or anything. This is an original story. And War Toy is a robot developed by the American military. And he fights off an alien invasion. But the military doesn't want robots. They say that'll set a bad precedent to all the human army members. So, War Toy, after defeating an alien invasion of Earth, just kind of lapses into disrepair. And just as he finally kicks the bucket, finally, War Toy, the robot, finally dies. The next day, the aliens have returned to invade Earth again. And without War Toy, will Earth be able to fight off the aliens? Well, that's the kind of science fiction cliffhanger that you get. And it's not even a cliffhanger, it's just the ending. Now, every issue so far, well, I've only read 2 issues, but they do an interview of a science fiction novelist in the first issue and the second issue. The first issue was Isaac Asimov. This issue is Alfred Bester, author of The Demolished Man. He gives some insight on his writing process. And here's a sample of an Australian comic that adapts one of his novels. The Star's My Destination. It's another popular novel by Bester. And here we have another original story. Oh no, this is adapted from Alfred Bester, Adam and No Eve, written by Denny O'Neil, with art by Frank Robbins and Jim Mooney. This is a cool little story about an astronaut that's determined to head into space in an experimental rocket, even though he's warned that even one drop of his rocket fuel, if it were to hit the Earth, it could poison the entire Earth and kill everyone. And of course, he's ignoring the warnings. He takes off, and sure enough, rocket fuel drips on the Earth and ruins it. And he goes back to Earth, and he's the last person alive. And that's the end. Another down ending. Here's a bunch of magazines that Marvel's printing back then. Crazy, Savage Sword of Conan, Savage Tales, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, The Haunt of Horror, Monster Madness, Monsters of the Movies. I have a bunch of Savage Tales and Savage Sword of Conan. I've got to start mixing them into this video series, but there's some other of their magazines. I'd like to get Haunt of Horror. Haunt of Horror, I think, would be a cool one to try and pick up. There's probably only about 6 issues of that as well, so I could probably find that on eBay. Somebody selling a complete set of them. I should do that. Here's a Mike Kaluta story. Just a quick couple pages. Kind of a sad story. Little boy trapped in outer space and trying to get back inside of a spaceship before he freezes to death and ends up punching a hole in the spaceship, and everybody goes flying out and everybody dies, and so does he. More down endings. So this is the Hugo Awards. This is an editorial about the Hugo Awards. This is the Hugo Award. And the Hugo Awards are given out to science fiction writers or people involved with the publishing of science fiction stories. Here's some winners. Here's Harlan Ellison, winning for I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Very interesting short story by him, or a novella, I'm not sure. This is an artist, Frank Kelly Freas. He did a lot of covers for the science fiction pulp magazines. He was interviewed in the previous issue of Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction. He's still working. Here is a short story by the great Bruce Jones. Story and art by Bruce Jones. This astronaut in his spaceship, he has captured this lovely lady. And you get the impression that through the whole story that this astronaut is heading home, presumably to Earth, and he's captured this dangerous specimen, and she's trying to tempt him to let her loose. She just wants to be his friend, you know what I mean? And he's having a hard time resisting her. Here we see how he found her on this planet. She was bathing out in the pond. He captured her and brought her aboard a ship to take her back to his home world. And it has a twist ending. He's actually the alien. She's a human. And that's the twist ending. Kind of saw it coming once I got going. But yeah, that was a good story. Bruce Jones is a good writer. I like Bruce Jones. He does a lot of like anthology comics where you'll get either horror or science fiction and several stories in one comic, and he'll write them all or whatever. And he's a very good writer. Here's some plastic models from back in the 70s. Monsters and dinosaurs and Planet of the Apes. Here is the conclusion to a story started last issue, an adaptation of John Wyndham's The Day of the Triffids. And this is a multi-chapter adaptation of that novel. And funny enough, I was just listening to a YouTuber, Michael Vaughn, and he was showing off his bookshelf in his home. And he had a really nice edition of Day of the Triffids. And he described it as Night of the Living Dead, but with plants, where the plants are the zombies, which is pretty true. Fun story anyway. Kind of reminds me of 28 Days Later because it takes place in London and there's a military faction and there's survivors scattered out through the countryside trying to survive the onslaught of these man-eating killer plants. But that ends in this issue, that adaptation. And then we get the end of the Slow Glass, the bookend here, continued from the start. We get a little twist ending where this aristocrat who wanted to buy more Slow Glass, he reveals that he murdered his wife, and he jumps out the window because he murdered his wife for being unfaithful. He captured her images in Slow Glass, but the Slow Glass, like I said, only replays the images that the light had absorbed one time, the video. It only replays it one time and then it's over. So he realizes that he's made a mistake. He jumps out the window and kills himself, and the Slow Glass salesman goes home. And that's the end of this issue. Here's a preview of the next issue. We've got a Larry Niven adaptation coming up not long before the end. Conversation, we're going to interview Frank Herbert next issue. We're going to have another adaptation, a Harlan Ellison story, Repent Harlequin, said the TikTok man. We're going to have some Alex Nino artwork. That ought to be awesome. And we're going to have an editorial on SFWA, Science Fiction Writers of America. So look forward to reading that. These magazines have been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying reading these. These are good. Here's some Planet of the Apes belts and belt buckles you could get. The ever-present bodybuilding ads that were always in comics back then. Here's a couple of the magazines: Monsters of the Movies, Savage Sword of Conan, and the other ever-present ad in comics, karate, or just martial arts in general. Here's some masks you can buy, monster masks. Man, I miss the 70s. Look at these. This is before DVDs, before VHS tapes. You could buy these Super 8 or just regular 8mm film strips of movies, and it would just be like an abridged version of these classic horror movies. And you'd have your projector at home and your screen, and you could watch these. They don't have sound. I don't believe they have sound, but you could watch these. More karate and more jobs, training. that was pretty that was pretty prominent in magazine or comic books of the 60s and 70s. You'd see a lot of career training schools advertising in these. LaSalle Extension University was one of the popular ones. Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction #2. Really cool. Anybody else out there read these, collect these? These I love them. They're really good. This is one of the joys of doing this video series, reading my Marvel comics in order. Like what I'm doing is I'm going through my collection, reading my Marvel comics in publishing date order from the earliest issue that I have up through the latest that I have. So I'm just kind of basically getting started, but just discovering these old comics, reading them in the order that they came out, giving you kind of a step-by-step of the history of Marvel Comics from the early mid-70s on up. It's, for me, it's very fulfilling, very it's something I've wanted to do for a long time, for a really long time. And this YouTube channel just kind of gave me the reason I needed to embark on this project. So if that sounds cool to you, stick around. I got a lot more to go. And please comment down below if you know anything about Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction. And leave me a like. Share it with any other old nerd you know who might like it. And I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time.